So I think we're at like vlog 7. I'm in a different room now. We'll get to that story later. We're still playing catch up. So now we're home and we're dealing with some PCA drama. So yeah, I have a PCA, doesn't know what to do. She's got some really bad habits. She asked to drink some alcohol and she's underage. She's untrained my dog. She's eating in my bed, sleeping in my bed. She's not taking my commode bag out. At this point, I just feel really uncomfortable around her when she's like, when I need to bathe naked. Like, I just don't feel comfortable around her. And I feel too uncomfortable to call this in because her mom owns the company. So at this point, I finally tell my mom what's going on. Like, I'm not telling my mom what's going on, and I should. Finally, I spill the beans to my sister first, and then I tell my friend, and then my friend and my sister help me tell my mom. And then my mom says, okay, let's make a list. I also told one of my PT people. My PT people helped me make a list, and then my mom helps me make a list. For one day, this PCA person makes a list. She follows the list for like half the day, and then this doesn't work. Finally, we get rid of this person, and I meet the best person ever. Best PCA person. I wish I had her the whole time. But then I start watching the news, and there's this thing called COVID on it, and it's starting to look scary. And I have this thing called FND, but I know there's something else going on. And deep down inside, I know that I need to be careful. I know I don't have a good immune system. And this loving PCA happens to be a professional cook. She happens to be a mom. She happens to be the person I really needed in my life at that time. We talk. Like, at one point, we played dress up one day with my hats. I had about 2 weeks with her, and then we let her go because of COVID. It was just too risky. I don't want to risk it for her family or me. I had PT at home, I had OT at home, I had speech at home, I had a nurse at home. I had palliative care, but not palliative for me. It was to set up a home directive, a healthcare directive, and just in case stuff happens. Taught me about essential oils, blah, blah, blah. We let all of that go. Everything we had set up at home to like get me better on my health journey, we let go because of COVID. And we decided that mom was going to take care of me now. Mom was going to take care of me, and mom was going to become my PCA, my nurse, my PT, my OT, my speech. And we were going to wait this out. We didn't know how long this was going to be. You know, we just thought, hey, we're just going to sit it out. We're going to wait it out, and it's going to be okay, you know? We can order food to the house. I've got a pedal bike for my legs. I've got a yoga ball. I've got some stretchy bands. I've got some weights for my legs. Things will be okay. Things weren't okay. I knew something was wrong. I knew so deep down inside that there was something so wrong with me this whole time. And every time I had to try to have this discussion, like, it just brought up more frustrations between me and my mom, because now we were in this form of isolation, which created some fights. So it isolated isolation. So I became really isolated. And now at this point, me and mom are isolated. So the only way I got to see my sister and her kids were when she came and visited me outside of a window. Like, I remember in March at one point, there's a picture of me with my face pushed up against the glass of my bedroom window, and my sister has wrapped my 2-year-old nephew up in a picnic blanket. She's standing outside, and it's maybe like 20 degrees outside, and I'm just like wanting to cry because I want to see my nephew, but I can't because he's just like outside the window. Like, yeah. So I do virtual visits with my pain doctor, and I just take the deep dive on research at this point. I start hunting and I start looking. Then I run across this one disorder, and it just falls in my lap, and it just makes sense to me. I don't tell my mom. I don't tell my mom about this disorder, but it fits. I fit it, and I know in my heart of hearts this is it. And I don't want to tell anybody, and I don't want to tell myself, and I don't want to admit it to myself, but I'm like, this is it. That one I put on the back burner for a little bit because I'm like, I'm not going to admit that one to myself because that one's too scary. I'm going to start looking at these that are the more obvious and apparent ones. So this is how I started figuring things out. So somebody sent me a link with a zebra on it, and I was like, this is interesting. Start looking at the obvious signs. I had flushing always on my face. I had this redness. I've always had redness. I'd get super red and I'd get tired after I'd eat. Never made sense. But it would melt my makeup off. So I made this appointment at this clinic, and we sent every piece of paper to this place. Now we're fast forwarding a little bit because there's nothing to talk about in isolation other than bickering. Fast forward to, we're going to skip over a horrible neurology appointment that just judged us and called me crazy like every other neurologist that they were wrong about. So fast forward to June 14th. And I was sitting at my virtual appointment. We had given her every piece of paperwork, like a Cub Foods box worth of my medical papers, from every hospital, clinic. And when we filled out this paperwork, it was from birth, every like couple months, birth, and then this to this month, to this month, this age, to this age, this age, this age, every couple of ages. Like what happened during these ages? What happened during these ages? What happened during these ages? What happened during... So much detail that we never thought of. But when we put it out on the paper, it's like, that connects to this. This connects to that. That connects to this. It painted this full picture. Then she had all of the records from every hospital thing I ever went to. My visit with this doctor, my first visit, was 6 hours. I went into this thing thinking I possibly have this one disorder, maybe this other disorder. I walked out the gate and she's like, I think you have these 4 disorders. 99.9% sure you got these 4 disorders. I went in being told for the past 9 months that it was all in my head, and walked out being so validated and so shook up that I went to all the support pages and was like, guys, I'm not crazy. And everybody was wrong. So I walked out of that meeting because that doctor took 6 hours on a virtual visit, and I was diagnosed with EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. She was 98% sure that I had mast cell activation syndrome, so she sent the labs in to do histamine tests and blood and urine and everything like that, 24-hour samplings and stuff like that. Sent that over so we can go pick that up. I was going to get a MRI. You have to do an upright MRI and a CT because you cannot do a supine to see it. And then she was 98% sure I had POTS, but because of the heart medication I am on, she thinks it's keeping it down a bit. So that's your trifecta. If you have EDS, A lot of times the trifecta is EDS, mast cell, mast cell activation syndrome. Sometimes you get all of it. EDS, mast cell, and POTS. So I did the sit stand, lay sit stand. So I am about to meet with my cardiologist soon to lock that in. After the blood test came back in urine, I had mast cell activation syndrome. After the neck thing came back in, sure enough, I had craniocervical instability. Sure enough, I had it all, and I'm waiting for my POTS confirmation, but the doctor already put it in my chart. The cardiologist that I just met with the other day. But I had a mitral prolapse when I was younger, and I have bradycardia and tachycardia and all of that lovely stuff. So I went in thinking that I might have mast cell and walked out with all of the alphabets. Because, hey, being able to supplicate, which means not fully dislocate, just like slide your joints in and out. Because, hey, I can supplicate both my shoulders, I can supplicate my hip, I can slide my kneecaps off, I can supplicate the top of my fingers, I can supplicate my hands off, my wrists. I have shoulder dysplasia. I can supplicate the top of my toes, double jointed toes, double jointed knees. I can bend all the way down without bending my knees. I can touch the floor. I can do all the tricks. Nobody ever put it together because nobody did a physical exam on me when I went down to Mayo. Because I was denied PT, because I was told you're not allowed to do PT until you do a full year's worth of psych if you can get there. I've had mast cell activation syndrome for a very long time. That's been bugging me. And I'm pretty sure once I stopped my ADHD medication, everything got a little bit better. I think my ADHD medication I've been allergic to for quite a while, because since I've stopped my ADHD medication, my brain is so much clearer. I'm able to write. Did you know that dysautonomia can actually give you the symptoms of ADHD? Because, yeah. If you cannot connect the issue, think connective tissue. You guys, my problem wasn't psychological, it was genetic, and nobody's looked at the problem my whole life. That was that 9-month marker. Took 9 months for one doctor to look at my whole history properly and not do the copy and paste thing where the last doctor just looks at the last notes and says, yeah, what she said. If you don't want a doctor to do that, don't say I won't give you the records. Say I'll give you all the records, and I'll sit down and look at all of them. I'm paying you to do your job. If you don't have the time, don't waste mine, because I'm paying you. You're not paying me. This is your job. If you're frustrated, don't take it out on me. I'm the patient. If you're frustrated by your job, get a different one. I'm not the problem. If you don't know the solution, don't call it psychological. Go find the solution. So yeah. I have a bigger announcement, but you'll have to wait till that story part comes up to now, which I would love to tell you, but spoiler alert, I get to talk to that doctor and have that phone conversation. Yep. All of that happened. All of that happened. I'm going to stop that there. Oh, I Then start treatment for mast cell activation syndrome quite immediately. And we decided to do cromolyn. That made me sick, very sick, but then once it starts to kick in, it starts to do pretty well. I have to go. I will start the next part later.